guys, welcome to Making Finances Sexy. My name is Jessica Lay. As always, I am your Rent Rave owned realtor and a certified instructor with the company 101 Financial, right here in our Valley of the Sun, making it my mission to assist you in moving out of renting and into home ownership. No matter your situation, I'm ready to be your personal finance coach and first-time home buyer specialist. And as always, we have Rose Short here with me.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Yes, I am Rose Short, aka the Red Queen. Come down the rabbit hole with me. I'm a realtor here in the Phoenix Valley, as well as a financial consultant and CEO of Chronica Luxury. It is my mission to help you fire your boss, take control of your financial freedom, live the lifestyle you want, and generally just enjoy life.
Woo! Awesome. And I'm super excited. We're going to get all into life insurance. We're going to make life insurance sexy.
Yes!
And it has been a pretty rough week for me and all of our family and friends over on the beautiful island Maui. So this is kind of like a good informative podcast episode that we can do, because unfortunately the disasters have taken a lot of lives, and I think life insurance is a very important aspect or critical thing that we need in our life, because we don't know what can happen. We can lose things instantly sometimes, and we just don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. Life insurance is kind of what started the idea of the name of our podcast, because one of the guys that got me started with life insurance was like, insurance isn't sexy, but it's something we got to talk about. And I was like, I think having your stuff together is sexy. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. So it's kind of why we named our podcast what we did. But yeah, life insurance is super important, and it's something that we as younger people don't tend to think about, just because we don't think we need it, right? Like, we don't see any reason to have it, and unfortunately that's not true. You really do need to get it, and you need to get it at a young age, because life insurance is contingent on your age and your health, and you're not getting any younger and you're not getting any healthier. You can potentially get healthier. That's not necessarily a true thing. But you're not going to get younger. And so getting it young locks you in to a cheaper rate generally. And that's why, like, Jess, you and I for the same coverage, because I am significantly older than you. My rate's definitely more expensive than yours because you're a whole lot younger. So it's a conversation that I think more parents should have with young people, and it's just not a conversation that's being had.
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult conversation because nobody wants to think about death in ourselves or with our families, unless you're somebody that's really into it.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because most people think of life insurance and they're like, oh yeah, you get rich when this person dies, and that's really not the point of life insurance.
No, I don't think we should be happy that somebody's gonna die so we get a paycheck.
Exactly. And there's a lot of misinformation about like different types of policies and whatnot in general as well. So I am a huge advocate for term life insurance. I am not an advocate for whole life insurance. I used to be an advocate for whole life insurance because I didn't understand it. So with whole life insurance, it's typically more expensive because with whole life, you have your life insurance policy, which is also building a cash value. So oftentimes people use it as a retirement plan, which is not really how how life insurance in general should be used. Now, there are some tax benefits to doing it that way, and that's sometimes why people do it. But the big thing with whole life insurance is they're like, yeah, and if you reach 100 years old, you get the full cash value of your life insurance. And that is just unrealistic, right? And the cash value sounds great too, except for it grows slowly. You can't access it for the first 3 years. And then if you do need to borrow against that cash value, which again is your own money that you're building, the insurance company, one, can decide when in a 6-month period that they're going to actually lend it to you. 2, they can decide at what interest rate you need to pay it back. And 3, they can change that interest rate every year. Now, on top of that, when you die, they keep the cash value. Your family doesn't get it.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you borrowed against it, they'll use whatever the payout is to pay off what you've borrowed before they pay your beneficiary.
Dang, yeah, I had no idea about any of that. And it's funny because Kalani just got whole life insurance because he got offered it for free when he applied for his business account or LLC. I don't remember the exact details, but he has one now and he's thinking about switching to term life insurance after learning a little bit more from you and like what I've told him after I applied and got approved.
Yeah,
Um,
but I can absolutely help him switch.
yes, exactly. He's like he's paying almost double what I pay for his whole life insurance and he's getting a significantly less amount of total coverage compared to me. So,
Yeah, and we find that a lot with people that we help switch is they can afford a whole lot more of their policy for a whole lot less money.
mhm.
And the theme with term life is yes, it's a term, but again, your life insurance policy should not be your retirement plan. And oftentimes, what we can do is we take people's whole life insurance and we can split it, get them a lot more coverage for a lot less money. And then we can take that difference and put it into an IRA or a 401k or some form of actual retirement funding. And instead of making 2 to 3%, which you would make on the cash value of a life insurance policy, you make 8 or 9% depending on how it's invested. And so a lot of times we can not only help people save money, but we can help them actually plan for retirement in a good way and in a way that is lucrative and beneficial, where they're not going to have to borrow their own money.
Oh, that's awesome. And at least they people out there have people that they can talk to about it and figure out the best options that suit them. Just got to reach out.
Yep. And again, like there are times when whole life insurance is beneficial. There's just very, very rare for like the everyday person. That's why I get really frustrated with people who are like, oh no, whole life is so much better because the tax benefit. And it's like, you get a tax benefit off of your IRA, off your 401k. Like you get a tax benefit there as well. So the whole life insurance for a tax break thing isn't really true. And then a lot of people, term life will be like, oh, well, there's no set aside thing to cover, the funeral costs. Life insurance isn't supposed to cover the funeral cost. It's supposed to cover the missing income, right? That's why businesses can take out life insurance policies on key employees. It's not because, they need to pay for the funeral costs. It's to cover the cost of replacing that employee. In the same way, employees can take out life insurance policies on the boss, the owner, whatever it is, anywhere there is an insurable interest. Now, in the United States, you have to be able to prove insurable interest. You don't have to keep insurable interest, meaning if you have a life insurance policy on like your husband and you guys get divorced, you can keep that life insurance policy. You don't have to cancel it, even though technically you're not as reliant on them. You can't like, unless you're going to a very shady place, you can't just go out and take out a life insurance policy on Joe Biden. And you can't do that. You have to be able to prove insurable interest. There are people who have multiple life insurance policies for different reasons. Parents can have life insurance policies on their children. And one of the cool things about the term life insurance that we do is instead of getting charged extra for every child, ours is a blanket cost. It's relatively cheap. I don't remember exactly what it is. But whether you have one child or 9 children, it covers them. And then when that child reaches, I want to say 21, but I might not be spot on that number, then they can extend the term insurance without having to prove insurability, which is really awesome. So if you as a child have life insurance on you from your parents, and then you develop some kind of life-threatening disease or something like that, you already have guaranteed insurability, which means you can't be denied a life insurance policy. And unfortunately, a lot of people wait until they're 50 or 60 to get a life insurance policy. And at that time, they've got pre-existing conditions or, just in general, insurance companies look at it and go, yeah, no, you're too far up there. And that's one of the reasons it's important to get it early. There's a lot of insurance companies that have what's called a active terrorism or active war clause, which means there were a lot of people who died in the Twin Towers and when 9/11 happened, who there's still lawsuits because the insurance companies didn't pay out on the life insurance policies. And luckily the company I work with, they were calling people before the cleanup was even done. Like they were on it to make sure that, these people were taken care of. But there were a lot of insurance companies that went, oh, no, that's an act of war. We're not paying.
Jeez, that's crazy. And that's people's money that they're putting into these accounts to give them peace of mind in case anything happened, especially a death, that they can be financially set afterwards. It's already an emotional roller coaster ride when somebody dies. Why also mix in a terrible financial situation?
Yep. Yeah. And that's exactly why the lawsuits are happening. But unfortunately, the insurance companies, they had every right to deny it because it was declared an act of war, act of terrorism kind of thing.
Well, that's not sexy.
That's not sexy at all. Now, on the flip side, whole life insurance does have things like accidental death, where it can double or triple automatically your death benefit if it's an accidental death, it's proven accidental death. So they do have all kinds of clauses or riders involved that, can be good, can be bad. So when you're shopping around, when you're talking to an insurance provider, it's really, really important that you find out what kind of riders are involved. Like I said, ours has the child rider. So no matter how many children you have, they're covered. Ours also has the rider that, guarantees them insurability. The insurance company that I work with doesn't discriminate with the active terrorism, active war clause. Like that's not a theme for ours.
Yeah, and I love that about your company. It's Primerica, correct?
Correct.
And they don't do a whole lot of advertising. I remember you and your team lead discussed that Primerica is different compared to a lot of the other life insurance companies out there. Can you brush on that?
Yeah, we don't spend any money on advertising. Like all of our business comes from word of mouth because the company would rather reward, the people that work for them, as well as making sure the money's there for payouts. And so there's really no advertisement involved. Even with our social media stuff, the name's not really out there because we work with so many other venues other than just Primerica itself that it's really an all-encompassing thing. So we work with home and auto insurance providers. We work with, again, IRA, 401k providers, home security. We can do home loans. Like there's all kinds of stuff that we do on top of life insurance. So life insurance is just kind of like the meat and potatoes of it. And then we have a bunch of other services that we offer. And so being a realtor, obviously, like it goes hand in hand. I'm not saying obviously I'm going to pressure all my clients into going with me or getting life insurance as soon as they close on my house or anything. But it's another tool in the toolbox that we have. Because when you buy a house, life insurance then does become important because you want to make sure that if you die in an accident, that your partner, your family is not going to lose the house. And that's where that comes in, is the coverage would then cover, your income for the next 10 years or whatever you decide it to be.
Yeah.
And that's where like buying a house, because a lot of people who are looking for life insurance or who should be looking for life insurance are married, kids, have a house kind of thing. Not to say that you have to have those requirements, but if you're eventually wanting those requirements, like you eventually want to start a family, it's really good to get it early.
Yeah, definitely. Because I did notice that it is a lot better that I got into it now while I'm young. So my payments are low and they're going to be low for the next 30 years, I believe. And then we can reevaluate, may go up, may go down, who knows.
Or you may not need it, if you pay off, if you buy a house and have it paid off, if you have no debt that you're going to be leaving somebody, there's no point in having the life insurance policy. And again, that's where whole life doesn't make sense because you've got this whole life policy, but if your house is paid off, your cars are paid off, and you're paying all this money to an insurance company instead of having had put it in a retirement account already, and now having your retirement account that you can go out and enjoy life, it just doesn't make sense. Like as your life insurance needs go down, your retirement needs go up. And if that retirement account isn't growing properly, the life insurance is potentially making you broke.
Yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of people probably don't even know that. There may be older listeners out there that have life insurance and is honestly not needed, and they could be reinvesting that payment into a retirement account or something that can make them money to assist them in the future when they're retired and things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't understand where the whole thought process of life insurance and retirement being the same thing, but I love helping people get out of those situations.
Yeah. Yeah, my parents never really talked to me about life insurance. I know my mom has it, not sure about my dad, but it would be very important for them to have if they do have debt, and I know they do. So at least that gives them some peace of mind when their time to leave this earth, that me and my brother aren't going to be struggling, trying to, give them rest, basically.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And in that situation, that, because you're already independent of them, it does become covering funeral costs or covering, um, costs of selling the estate or anything like that. Right.
that.
My mother's husband, they had mortgage insurance, which meant if one of them died, the mortgage was taken care of. And he also had life insurance. And he went ahead and canceled both of them because he decided that it was a cost that they didn't need. Well, 2 years later, he came down with 2 very rare diseases and a year later died. And, he was in his 50s. So, I kind of get where he's coming from, but they still had a mortgage. They still had, my mom was still reliant on his income. And, she wasn't that upset about it or anything. She's more upset that he went and died on her. But, canceling it because you're like, oh, I don't need this because I'm going to live forever is just not smart, right? You never know. And, people die in car wrecks all the time. Those people don't expect to die that day, and it's so sad because statistically speaking, 1 in 7 people that we as agents get life insurance coverage for end up using or needing that in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's an insane statistic, but it's true.
Yeah. So it's good to just take the precautions now and never get in that mindset thinking you're never going to die or like things like that, because that's generally when the bad things happen. And thinking you don't need something or you may need something, if you're ever on the fence, just say yes.
Yep.
And do it.
Yep. I mean, it's the same with health insurance. A lot of people don't have health insurance.
Yeah.
And I get it. I don't have health insurance. I should have health insurance, but I don't. But I have life insurance. So if I get sick and die, it's okay because my house is taken care of, my dogs are taken care of, my family's taken care of.
Yeah.
I chose to prioritize life insurance over health insurance, essentially.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I don't like paying for my health insurance because it's so dang expensive, but I am prone to accidents. Broke my ankle. I've gotten in a couple car accidents, so I'm just not risking the chance of having a real big medical bill that's difficult to pay off.
Maybe I'll revisit that this year.
Right. But yeah, that's awesome. Good information.
Yeah. And like I said, this is not I'm not plugging Primerica. I'm not saying like, hey, call me today and change you over to term life insurance. I mean, if you want to, absolutely, we can schedule a consultation. I'll put my link, in the description and whatnot. The other cool thing about my company too is we do have offices. But you don't have to have an office to work for us. And so it's all work from home. 4 years in a row now, we've been voted the best company or one of the best companies for stay-at-home moms because you do it in your time, on your schedule, and it's a Zoom call. It's that simple. And I've got a couple of people I've signed up or who have signed up under me, for exactly that reason. They need to stay home. They need to work from home, and they need flexibility. And as long as you get the license, you make your own schedule, and you can start earning money before you even get licensed, which is a really cool thing. So you get paid for training essentially. Now, you do have to do your own lead gen. You have to, kind of do your own research, reach out, but there's just so many benefits of being able to work from home and do it on your time and your space.
Yeah, and like you said, it's more than just life insurance, and I like that there are other ways for them to work and make money from just their Wi-Fi and a computer.
Yeah. Yeah, I got almost $200 for referring myself for auto insurance, and they were able to save me $100 a month on auto insurance. So, I mean, why not, right?
Whatever we can do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not gonna go too far into the descriptions on how the payout works and whatnot, but I do know after talking with some other agents who work for other companies that our pay structure is significantly better than
Nice.
some of these bigger companies. So found that interesting.
That's awesome. I feel like you guys are more like suited to what we like, how we're there. We're there for you. If you want it and you put in that time and effort, you're gonna do an amazing.
Yep.
But we're not pushing like or spending billions of dollars on marketing and um, commercials essentially just to like bring people in without being able to back it with top-notch service.
Yeah. And even like anytime I'm on a call with someone, it's not like, oh, let me sell you life insurance. I'm just like, look, here's what I do. Like, here's everything that I do. Would this benefit you? If not, who would it benefit? Kind of thing. Like, it's not this pushy sales call nonsense. It's not cold calling. You're not cold DMing anyone unless that's your jam. I mean, you can do that if you want to. um, but it's literally just reaching out to like, hey, like I'm doing this really cool thing. You got 20 minutes? I'll show you. Which is, basically what I did with you. Is like, yep, here's what I'm gonna be doing.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. And I like that portion of it. Like, you can always be pushy about it if you want to in sales, right? But you do have a lot of freedom to kind of do things your way, which I like.
Yeah, people like people and people that they can relate to.
Yeah. And we like helping people. So
We do.
So yeah, guys, in a nutshell, that is whole life versus term life and why I prefer term life. If you are interested in learning more about what I do or the company that I work for, I will go ahead and leave a link to my calendar. You can go ahead and jump on there, schedule a call, and jump on a Zoom call, and we can talk about it. So that's it. We're making insurance sexy.
Yes, we are. And do your research, pick what's right for you, what speaks to you, what feels right to you, and then get some professional help to guide you into the right direction.
Yes. Yes. Don't be strong armed into something you don't need. All right, guys, that is it for this week. Join us next week when Miss Jessica talks about the second part of the 4 main parts of finance. So last time we talked about budgeting and credit building, and this next week we are talking about
Smart banking and debt elimination.
what?
Ooh,
Keep it
we love
sexy.
eliminating debt. That's sexy.